Hey, everybody. It's Dan and Angela.
Hi, guys.
Hey, welcome back. It's 2023.
Yeah,
wow.
January 2nd.
Hey, well, we're ready to get back rolling again. And we've got a message today. We feel it's a powerful message. We're actually going to send it to the media. And we wanted you guys to know about it. We're going to try to put some laws in place regarding this child baptism. You know, children don't know what they're getting into when they get baptized into Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, beliefs change, things change along the journey. So, you know, they really don't know what they're getting into. They're getting into it because they want to make dad happy, because Lucy got baptized and she want to get baptized, and codependency. And, you know, they have no idea when they get old enough to say, I want to go to a prom, I want to play football, I want to do something in the world, that they could be disfellowshipped and abandoned by the society. So this should be illegal. But today, I want to say this. I have a message. Angela has a message. We have a message for Stephen Lett and Toni Morris and Hendricks. This is a message to you. And I'm going to tell you this. The light is getting brighter. We're at your door. We're knocking on your door. Truth will take this organization apart. The abuse that you're putting on these people, the guilt that you're spewing on these people with this Bible, beating them with it, guilting them with it. I mean, I saw a video today. It was Toni Morris, and he's going, you know, are your hands full of blood? Are your hands drenching with blood? Well, you got some brothers ain't going out door to door, you know. Blood on your hands, you know, you can say what you want, but Jehovah said you're loaded with blood, you know, and it's like, ugh. It's like, you know, this is manipulation.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, they believe that if you don't go door to door trying to help these people be saved before Jehovah comes back, then their blood, that because they did not get the truth, is on your hands because they died because you didn't do your job. So I just want to clarify that's what's going on.
They have free will, right? I mean, God gave Adam and Eve free will, right? God gave us all free will. The prodigal son, right? He got to go out and do what he wanted. God didn't chase after him and try to witch hunt him. Now, what's interesting, what's pissing me off, and this is a message to Stephen Lett. How dare you turn a parent against their own child? I mean, I know this has already been brought out, but how dare you breach a love relationship? You know, how dare you? Do you remember what he said? Yeah, I saw it on a video. He said, you know, I know you think kids are cuddly, you know, and I think this, but better said, they're actually an enemy of Jehovah, or could be an enemy of Jehovah.
Until...
Yeah, but he said that first. But here's the thing. Yeah, until he proves himself, right? Until he gets baptized, right?
He's baptized.
But it's interesting that a baby, think about it, a baby already has an accusation against him, meaning the governing body has already put something in the parent's head that said this might be Satan's child. So the parents are like, hurry, get baptized. You know, the kid doesn't stand a chance. He's got to move and wiggle and do everything that the governing body says, because if they don't make governing body daddy happy, Stephen Lett, crazy Stephen Lett, and I'm going to say you're crazy. Stephen Lett, you are nuts. You do not make comments like that. You do not break the bridge between a parent and them for the sake of your dynasty. And I'm going to say it like that. You're in a dynasty, and you want to preserve your dynasty. Those kids have a right, if they want, to go on YouTube. They have a right to study, to do due diligence. You're asking them to give their life to that organization, right? You're saying, give your life to us. Give all of your schooling to us. Give all of your free will to us. Get out door to door, blood, right? You're asking for everything. So why shouldn't he be able to do due diligence? And due diligence just means I can research it. Well, what are these witnesses about? You know, what do they think? Have they false prophesied? I mean, and how dare you, after all your false prophecies, 100 years, Stephen Lett, Toni Morris, 100 years of false prophesying, you're still lying. And you're still saying, you better listen to us like your life depends on it, because it does. This is slavery. This is Nazism. I'm sorry. This is Nazism.
Yeah, let's give an example, Dan.
You know, go ahead.
Let's give an example.
Go ahead.
Like Dan and I have a friend, and I've shared this before, but her brother was very, very young, and his sister got raped. And so the dad said, I don't want you to say it, according to the elders, he was told, your child, don't have him say anything to anyone about this. But the kid was very upset because it was an elder that had done this to his sister. And so he went to the elders anyway, even though his dad said, I don't want you to discuss this. He was a very little kid. I'm thinking he was like 8, 9, 10. I think not older than 10. And so he went ahead anyway and went to the elders and said, hey, I just want to tell you this happened to my sister. And because nothing was being done, and he was wanting to defend her, just being a sweet little brother that he was terrified that this horrible thing would go on in his church. And so then they said, well, wait, I thought your father said you were not allowed to be saying anything, I heard. And so they said to the father, get him out, and the mother, get him out. And so he was kicked to the curb at this young, tender age. And then when winter came and it was freezing cold, he came to the door, Mom, I'm hungry. I'm cold. Please let me in. Please feed me. No, get out. And she slammed the door. And that kid had to live out on the street, did not graduate, did not have any kind of a normal life whatsoever. He had to be a beggar, surviving out on the street, lost. And this is the kind of thing that goes on for real in there. And beyond that, there's other little weird things too, where they say that this is what they tell the news media. They lie to the media, to the courts, flat out
keep their palace
lying.
going, this big empire they got.
Don't want to lose their money. It's always about the money. Follow the money, right, guys? It's always about the money. Okay, so they're afraid of losing their whatever government subsidies, money that they get for being a nonprofit or whatever in each country, that you get this special large amounts of money. In Norway, what is it, 3 million a year? Is it
2 million, 3 million.
Yeah, something like that. That they stand to lose because of they don't like the shunning practices that are going on. So here it says that they tell these people, these media, that one of that we teach that members are in good standing should shun disfellowshipped ex-members, with some exceptions, like except if they are part of their immediate family and cohabitate with them. So that in that case, that they don't kick them out and shun them. So in other words, they're not kicked out of the family. Baloney! That is not the way it is at all. They start actually truthfully making that wife already on her butt to get him out, and they already start hitting on her. Start treating the husband really, really bad, and they're shunned immediately for the slightest, honestly, for the slightest infraction. I mean, in this case of our friend, he was very upset about the pedophilia that had been going on in there, and because he'd been involved in that room where those people, when they get in trouble, they go into, and he heard all this crapola of pedophilia going on, and they weren't doing anything about it. They weren't returning in this information. So he got this information and wanted to try to figure out what he's going to do about it, because he felt it was not being dealt with, and it was just horrendous. It was a lot of files of pedophilia not going anywhere, and so he started beginning to say some things and saying, you guys, why are we allowing this? Why are we allowing? Anyway, thrown to the dogs just for mentioning it. I don't like that we're doing this to these women when they come in here. We're giving them a really hard time into the middle of the night, making them repeat. I don't like this, he was saying. I'm telling you guys, he was out, because he did not think that it was just or right or godly or in any way humane to torment these women because they did some small little thing.
Making them repeat their sexual acts over and over and over.
They went down on their husband, for example, not allowed, okay? And so they would just hound them. How did you do it? Where did you do it? How were you sitting?
How many do it? Tell us again.
Over and over and over into the night.
He even asked him, take a break. Let's take a break. And the sister went out. And when he went back in, he goes, why are we asking these questions to these sisters over and over? Why are we what are you guys, sick?
It's torture. It's
torture.
Well,
it's sex addiction. You
is
don't
their
do that.
Sex
It's
addiction,
porn.
you
You don't ask for a porn story over and over.
But this is just not one incident, guys. This is me and Dan have
Rampant.
read these stories over and over and over and over and over again. You can't imagine. And then these people get depressed. They're suddenly out on their. They can't see their kids. Their kids come and say, what do they say to their dad? And this one guy that we're talking about right now.
Oh, he said his eyes were going to be plucked out.
Yeah. So these kids,
the birds are going to eat the eyes out.
These young kids are told you can't. If your dad doesn't, well, I don't know what they expected him to do, but shut up and come back and be a good little boy. He wasn't disfellowshipped yet, but they were told that your daddy is going to be in Armageddon, and they're going to pluck his eyes out. I don't know what scripture did they get this from, Dan?
I don't know. It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible somewhere.
The birds
anyway,
are going to eat the flesh.
Scaring the crap out of those kids and telling them that they're going to be allowed to have nothing.
It's the Bible
to
being
do
used
with
as
their
a weapon,
father.
and it's a Bible being used as a weapon, and I'm sick of that Bible being used as a weapon of fear, doubt, worry.
Amen.
God's angry, God's pissed off, God's jealous, God,
Right,
it's sickening.
But you're right, Dan, to have these young children set up for failure. Because you guys, okay, let me just read you some of the sins. This is from Brenda Lee. She was one of the earlier pioneers that I know of in this movement to try to start fighting against all this stuff. But Jehovah's Witnesses, she says that they discipline, the sins that they discipline for are, in her mind, this is the basic ones: reading anti-JW literature. True. Criticizing the teachings of the Watchtower. Criticize anything that they say or do, or how they do what they do, like we just discussed, these little meetings that they would have to discuss the sin of somebody having been reported. And anyway, criticizing that. So a guy criticized it, and he got ostracized. And he ended up committing suicide, guys. Communicating with ex-JWs. This is a disfellowshipping offense. Gambling, smoking. Blood transfusions, if they take blood to save their lives, or they allow their children to, or any such thing as anything to do with blood, they were put out for that offense. That's was going on for a very long time. Dating a non-Jehovah's Witness, and many other offenses not mentioned in the Bible as disfellowshipping offenses. They made them up. And so then she says that the ones in the Bible, and this is her way of looking at it, that it says in 1 Corinthians 5, Titus 3, and 2 Thessalonians, that these are these are the ones used to possibly kick someone out. Fornication, greed, idolatry, rivaling, insults and slander, drunkenness, extortion, which is theft, walking disorderly, an idle or unruly kind of a life, or promoting false doctrine. Nothing
to do with a person who believes different than you. This is serious, right? You got an organization. You don't want a drunk guy staggering around in there, so you put him out, a fornicator, guy trying to sleep with everybody else's wife. You don't want him in there, so you get him out.
But the thing is that they have an orderly way of doing that. I remember in the Bible, I read it, and it said that you go to the brother, one brother goes to the brother, and then that doesn't work, they bring another, and then if that doesn't bring, you go a third time, and you have one more final, and then if it still doesn't work, then they're to be excommunicated, because they could cause everyone else to fall into the same kind of bad habits. I mean, drinking with them until they get drunk all the time or whatever, right, guys? And so anyway, there were certain reasons, but they've come up with their own reasons.
Yes.
And they're unfounded, and then they lie to the courts flat out about what's actually going on.
Yeah, like the Australian Commission, where they said, we don't make disfellowship people sit in the back of the hall. Could you imagine being a witness? You're in there. You go to the back of the hall. You go in after the meeting starts. You leave before the meeting's over. Right after the prayer, you run out of there. They know that. To watch the governing body lie their asses off for money?
Yeah, and they don't leave right after the service is over because they want to. Oh, no. They have to come in after the service starts, sit in the back. They're watched like hawks. As soon as it's over, they're to quickly get up and leave so that no one will say hi to them. No one's allowed to talk to them, and they're not allowed to talk to anyone else. And so that they do this for years, guys. Years. This is what's really going on in there. They're dividing families, and what Brenda Lee calls it more like I don't know, demolishing, what is it?
A relationship, a family relationship. They're destroying it.
Genocide. She's calling it genocide of the family. This is the real truth. Genocide of families. This is not just kicking someone else. And they're saying that if someone leaves the witnesses who's married to somebody who is, that because he's the father in that home, that he gets to stay. No. That is not the truth. Not the truth. Maybe in one church in a million, right? No, that's not what's going on. They're lying their asses off.
Yeah, and you imagine the pressure now on kids. I mean, they've got to be thinking about baptism. I mean, after hearing that talk, because the dad and mother is going to have an intention now, right? Boy, I sure hope he's not one of those dark ones. I sure hope, you imagine looking at your baby. Everybody looks at a baby. My daughter just had a baby, and it is precious. It is innocent. It's just looking at life. It's absorbing everything. It's getting ready to talk. It is a gift.
And unless we become as little children, we will in no wise inherit the kingdom of God. And so for them to even insinuate that a child is less than absolutely everything we're supposed to try to become like. No, they cause the parent to put a hardness in their heart towards their kid. I mean, how could any mother kick out their kid and keep it going? How could any mother know and hear rumors that their son or their child is suffering badly out there? Nope, this is Jehovah's will. He knows what he's doing. We're not going to open that door. We're not going to answer the phone. We're not going to answer the text, not anything. Because their hearts have become hardened because out of what, Dan? Fear of the Jehovah's Witness organization?
Yeah, fear of them leaving, people leaving. Now imagine this. Imagine you're a mother, you're holding your baby, you're bonding, right? You're supposed to be bonding. Not looking at it like it's a demon, right? So you're bonding with your baby. Now picture this. This is what Stephen Lett did, that psychopath. Okay? He's like this. You're looking at your kid. Stephen Lett comes up to your wife and says, Angela, I don't want you to get too bonded with that baby, because that baby in your hands there, that could be satanic.
What?
That could be, no, I'm serious. Listen to me. That baby, until it proves itself that it's Jehovah, that it wants to be a Jehovah's Witness and, pass out our, become a part of our organization, that baby could be demonic.
What?
Now think about that. Now, you know what that is? That is a bully. And that is a con man. That's a con man. Think about that. That would be a con man. Let me tell you about your kids. Now, why is Stephen Lett? Now, Stephen Lett, I want you to know something. We see you. We see that you're pissed off. We see Tony Morris is pissed off. You guys are pissed. And you know what? We're light. And we're bringing that light to your organization, to your front door. We're coming at you like a laser beam. We got laser beams coming into that organization from every angle, and those laser beams are light. And Tony Morris and Stephen Lett, you will not be able to hide under the rocks. Your anger is visible. Your anger is there. Your manipulation is there. I mean, think of Tony trying to get everybody going again in service. Everyone's had this nice break, this and that, and he's like, the blood's on your hands. You get out there and pass out these Bibles. Get out there and pass out our cultic literature. Get out there and pass our channeled literature, and it is channeled. They said that they're the mediator. They get the spiritual food at the proper time, and they're to give it to you, so they're the channel. And so get out there and pass out our literature. Get out there and pass, because blood is on your hands. Blood, are you bloody?
Yeah, Dan, back to that whole thing about the children and all of that. That's just absolutely beyond unconscionable.
It is. I mean, it's psychopathic. It's narcissistic.
I want to just state on camera that there's a woman, right after he said that statement about that children, until they're baptized.
Killed her baby or something.
Yeah, she killed her baby.
Oh my God.
She was the best everybody could figure it. She had psychological issues. There's reasons why people said that, and so she killed her baby. This is right after, and so it was. People felt that was because of the teaching.
Yeah,
they felt very strongly
I got a question.
about it.
Did the witnesses sign up for that? When they became a Jehovah's Witness, do you ever think they heard in a million years, that your baby might be an enemy of Jehovah? Do you think in a million years, do you think they'd be selling kingdom halls off to churches, marijuana clinics? I mean, do you think in a million years, think about it, passing off a kingdom hall to a church so that they could pursue, we built a kingdom hall for that Baptist church over there. Think about it. We stayed in it 2 years, then we gave it to the Baptist church and said, God bless you, go on with your work, right? I mean, that's what we've done. Now, do you think the witnesses have signed up for this? They haven't. And to have these slave owners demand that they get back to the fields. In fact, get out there and build some more kingdom halls. We need 15,000 more whoa!
After they just went and sold,
tons
a bunch.
Of
them. The people, the congregants built with their own money, their own sacrificial time and supplies, all kinds of money given for that building to be built practically for free.
They didn't care. They sold the Baptist church, New Age churches,
place.
Everywhere. I mean, they could care less. It's money, 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 money.
Money.
And so, anyway, it's just interesting to watch these guys manipulate. So go ahead.
One other last thing is that they're asking all the people, which they were always against and always boasted of saying, we're one of the few that don't ask for money in our church. But guess what they're doing now? See, Jehovah supposedly told them not to ask for money, right? So they're one of the only churches in the world that don't ask for money. Now all of a sudden, they're asking you for everything.
Yeah, and did the witnesses sign up for that? Those were bragging rights. That's a good point. Those were bragging rights.
So Jehovah changed his mind? Now Jehovah doesn't need money,
my uncle,
and now he needs money?
Yeah,
really?
my uncle told me at my mother's death, he's like, Danny, where do we get our money? It's good people just giving. Jehovah puts it on their heart to give. Well, they're not doing that anymore. They're signing you up to ATMs. They're signing you up to direct deposits. They're asking for your homes. They're begging for it. Jehovah knows what you have. You got an extra house or an extra motorhome or an extra anything. You better be Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. And, I don't know. I don't want to piss Jehovah off. I mean, this is the rhetoric. I mean, they're stealing their money. They're turning them against their kids.
Selling their kingdom halls. Tell them, bring back your literature. We need to recycle it and regurgitate it back into more channel literature. More light, more light, more light. Fear of the end. I got to say this again. The light of truth, Jehovah's Witnesses, governing body, is coming to your door. And I'm going to say this too. You people that are out there preaching for these guys, you are enabling cultic behavior, channeled behavior. You people that are out there, that's why it's getting harder for you. When you go out to meet people, they're not tolerating your ignorance. They're not tolerating you being passive and just closing your eyes and following. These people, just like a bad investment, right? If you made a bad investment, they just say, I'm sorry, you lost your money. Witnesses aren't like that. A lot of people realize they made a bad investment, but when they realize that they made a bad investment and they want to get out, they can't get out either without losing their family, without losing their children, without losing everything they had before they come in. That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's really, really bad. And I don't know, do you want to say some more?
I don't know. I think it's just kind of rough. You get into this organization. Here's the trickery of the whole thing. You get in the organization and you give up everything. You realize that they must be telling the truth. They kind of show you this is what it says, this and this and that, all these beliefs, and you're totally in there. And then they tell you this: you're going to have to cut off your family because they're going to be used by Satan to try to get you out, to try to put doubt in your mind. And so just beware, your family is going to be used. You'll see. And then they do. And so then they're 100%, Jehovah's Witness family, and they're ostracized, and they're the way that they've been taught now, and the way they see the outside world. They're Satan's world. Everyone outside here is Satan's world. And so then they have no avenue but this family now. So then when they realize something's not right here, and they want to change their mind, and they want to, fade away, then what's happening is just fading away. Brenda Lee just wrote tons of stories in here about her life and her friends. Her friend she just faded away. And she had a disabled child, and the family just cut her off. The mother, nothing to do with her, not even her child who was disabled, because she was shunned, for not even baptized. And so you guys, they come in, they believe it all, and then they realize something's wrong. They decide they need to speak up and say something. Then they're immediately kicked out, and then they have nowhere to go. They have no friends, no support. They've been ostracized in their own mind from the world, because that's an evil, that's Satan's world. And so then they're kicked out on their heels. See, it's control, because they have nowhere else to go. The plan is, you're 100% in. You don't keep Christmas. You don't do the holidays. You don't keep birthdays. You don't. You're not part of that world. So then when you're totally realizing that's Satan and everything about that world, Satan, and then you want to leave, you're fearful now of anything outside of here, because everything that I know is here. And so you have no friends, no support group. And so then what do you do? And you just go crazy with what you do, because you can't go back out there. That's Satan's world. It's scary, and it's not safe, and you don't trust it. And so what do? Out of desperation, you run back maybe, or you just pretend like you're okay there. But now they're literally shunning you for just fading away. And it's just getting nastier and nastier. That's controlling. What's more and more controlling is what it is. And now trying to say that kids are going to be baptized at a young age now. And
I got to say something. Where does it say in there? Where does it say in the Bible that children would be enemies of Jehovah? Where does it say that?
No.
I've heard gifts. I heard become like children. It doesn't say that. That's Stephen Lett. And I got to tell you what that really means. What that means is your baby might be an enemy of Jehovah. That means your children too, of course. Anyone up, that isn't baptized, right? And so basically what they're saying is they're heightening they're putting the accusation on the children, like, you think you're going to go online? You think you're going to look at stuff on Facebook? You think you're going to look at YouTube and get away with it? So they go to the parents and go, your kid might be an enemy of Jehovah. And so now the kid's got it like a spotlight on him, right? And that light to me reminds me of one of those lights in the concentration camp, right? That's going like this. Yeah, this is really communism.
It
is.
is.
It's on your kid now. Your kid may be a demon. Your kid might be a devil. What did he say? Enemy of Jehovah, right? So they got the light on him. So the kid's like this. He can't do anything. Yeah, he's freaking out. And think about this. I want to tell you too. To say that is a death sentence, because what did Stephen Morris say about enemies of Jehovah? He said, "Won't you be glad when they're dead?" And he lit a lighter, and he blew it out, and he had a big grin on his face. I mean, could you see the anger in Tony Morris? Could you see the anger in that guy? Could you see the anger in Stephen Lett? I mean, look at that. Look at that video.
Finish what he said in that
what
video.
What did
he say? He blew out the match, and then he said...
he said, just like smoke, they're going to be blown away. They're going to be dead. They're going to be gone. They're going to be dusted, right?
Yep.
That's all he said.
Yep.
But
and aren't you going to be glad?
Yeah, and what's behind it, though? Look at the anger. Look at the hands. Look at you little kids. You'll not take our organization. You little kids, you won't destroy us. And then Stephen Lett with that thing. He might be an enemy of Jehovah. Yeah, we got to keep an eye on him. You mothers and dads, you better keep an eye on him. See, they've got him under a magnifying glass. They've got him under. This is high control groups
sure is.
And manipulation and coercion. And when did God say He wanted worship like that? Now that's the thing right there, right? If God wants our worship, He wants our heart, right? He wants us to worship Him with our heart. Like, I want to serve you, God. He doesn't want arms twisted. He don't want to say, I'll break their neck. I'm going to drench them in blood. Birds are going to pick their eyes out for... That's a narcissistic, crazy God. God is not like that.
No.
God is not like that.
And listen, I grew up in the Worldwide Church of God. I was not growing up but that's part Jehovah's Witness, part Jewish, a little Seventh-day Adventism in there. And one of the things that they said that in the child rearing book, they had not, so anyways, it's a sick child rearing book by Gardner Ted Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
And he said in there that that if your kid gets in trouble in any way, shape, or form, it's because you have not been obeying the laws of the land and the laws of God and the Ten Commandments and all that, because you somehow are doing something wrong that caused that child to be that way, to get into trouble, to do anything that they do. It's completely and 100% reflected on the parents. So imagine that responsibility the parents have. If your kid is extra stubborn or whatever, well, it's because you were not obeying God or the Ten Commandments or the laws of the land, because you showed a bad example. I don't know what you did. What were you, smoking pot in secret, or what were you doing? But your kid became a drug addict, and he is whatever, because you were bad, because you were a bad parent.
Blood on your hands.
Yes, the blood is on your hands. You did this. And so the parents are deathly afraid of, their kids reflect them. That's the way it is.
Yeah, and I just feel bad for an innocent child to not even know. Think about that accusation has been made by them. That thought was put in the head of their parents. Come here, parents, I want to talk to you. That child of yours might be satanic. Yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, that is an accusation. And it's just looking at your child differently, right? As opposed to this beautiful gift from God, this loving entity, this beautiful thing. Thank you, Lord, for giving me this wonderful baby. It might be an enemy of Jehovah. He's only an enemy because there's a possibility he might disagree with Stephen Lett, Tony Morris, and Hendricks, and all the rest of the bunch on top that love their position. They love their position. They love hoarding it over people, lording it over people. They love it. Well, look at them. They love it. They lie, and they lie again. They're lying in the Australian Commission. They lie whenever they go to court. They make up stories, radio shows that we're growing, and we're getting big, and everything's going great. These guys will lie their ass off because it's a corporation, because it's a business.
That's right.
And they got to keep members there. And now they realize they were losing their bread and butter, right? When they stopped the preaching work and gave them carts and they sat on their asses and got on their cell phones. Now they're saying, get your butts back to the door, start talking to people, get back to the halls. Oh, God, don't sell off all the halls. We need a few halls to get the people in so we can get these people back out. And then they take Scripture and they manipulate them with Scripture. You know what I mean? Get out there. Blood, blood. That's all we heard when we were there. Blood.
God.
You know what the truth of it is? There's no blood on my hands. Because everybody gets an opportunity to give their life to God or serve God or not. And that's not Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean just God in general, right? I want some help from God or I want to go it alone. And God really don't care. You know, that's why he let the prodigal son go out and do his own thing, right? He said, go out and do your thing, get to the end of yourself. And if you come back, if you make it back, good. If you don't, that's okay. But he wasn't angry and mad and jealous and, you know, fire and brimstone, going to burn him up. I've heard Toni Morris talk more about fire and blood. It was gross.
You know that saying that says that what you accuse others of, you got three fingers pointing right back? Okay, well, I want to say something about this. Stephen Lett and Anthony Morris and all these guys, what blood is on their hands? I'll tell you what blood's on their hands. They have supported the no taking blood doctrine, and so people have died in the operating room. Mothers who sort of survived the births of their children died in the birthing rooms. All kinds of deaths of every kind have happened because of their twisting what the Bible has to say about all of that in a really big way. A lot of blood on their hands. Then beyond that, insisting that because your kid disobeyed you kick him to the curb. You guys, this is not an isolated event. No. Trust me, this is not an isolated event at all. This is common.
Yeah, it is.
And so these kids are kicked to the curb. And so literally they're asking their mothers to sacrifice their children for the organization.
Yeah.
They literally threw them to the world, threw them to the dogs, threw them to Satan,
to their own
sacrificed
whims.
them, sacrificed their husband even, whatever they were asked to sacrifice because they don't agree or because they don't want to go to church anymore. They just want to fade away. I don't really like this. They're kicked. They have to kick them out. They push them to get rid of your husband. They really want you, truth be told. That's how I see it anyway. And they're evil beyond evil beyond evil, and the blood is on their hands, and they're teaching their members to have blood on their hands by kicking their own children out, never to go to school again. You know, horrible things that these children have had to go through. Our friend tells the story of her brother, how the life that he lived until finally, I think he was 21 or 2 or something. It was young, and he killed himself, murdered himself because he just couldn't live out on the street anymore and couldn't handle their life. He hadn't learned life skills. He hadn't even freaking graduated. He didn't even graduate elementary school, for crying out loud, I doubt. So anyway, where's the blood, guys? The blood is on their hands.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yeah, and
shame on you.
Yes, and the other thing is, you know, the soldiers of truth, which is what we are. I know you've got some funky little name you made up that you play over and over to your people, but the soldiers of truth are mounting. And I'm going to tell you this. For those who want truth, they will leave. The ones who don't want truth, they just want to close their eyes, bury their head in the sand. They're just going to continue to promote your false gospel and your cultic literature, and that's okay. But those who want out are going to come out because the army of light, the army of truth, the soldiers of truth are at your door. And the light of truth is on your organization. It is on your kingdom out there. You could say what you want. You can make up you can have your media center. The light of truth is beaming, and you can't hide. You can elevate fear. You can elevate your lies. You can tell people they're evil. Children are evil. You can call them names and all this stuff. But I got to tell you, you're starting to look like the ones that you are, like tyrant bullies. And just horrible slave owners.
Thieves.
That's how slave owners, and I'm going to tell you something. Slavery has been done away with. You're going to be the last of the slavery to go, but you're going to go. Because the light of truth, the soldiers of truth, the soldiers of light are on your doorstep. And no matter what you say, you look like what you are. Whitewashed graves, hypocrites, offspring of vipers. That's what you are.
Thieves and murderers.
Thieves and murderers and everything else that goes along with it. So, you know, your end is intimate. The end of this organization is intimate because truth will prevail over falsehood. It will.
Yep.
And we're in that time right now where truth and things are being exposed. You cannot hide. You guys cannot hide.
And you lie. Oh, do you lie? I mean, you do everything that the Bible says not to do.
Yes, you do.
You lie. You promote murder. You promote division. You promote genocide among family members. You do everything that the Bible says not to do. You do. Drunkenness. I mean, what isn't there that you don't do?
I mean, it would take a drunk to say, won't you be glad when they're all dead?
Yes.
Imagine the prodigal son. I'll be just glad when my son's dead.
Gone.
Yeah. I mean, that has to be a drunk. I'm
He's
sorry.
talking to the congregation whose children
It's nuts.
are the ones who are not in the church anymore and are out there on the street trying to fend for their lives, mentally ill because they can't handle it out in the world, and they don't care. Going to be so glad
There's
when they're
hatred
dead.
in their breath. There literally is hatred. If you say you wish somebody was dead, won't you be glad when
murderous.
Jehovah's enemy is dead? That's disgusting. That is not in harmony with the prodigal son.
No.
A person should be able to go out, live his life, and then choose whether he wants to serve God or not. That's free will.
Yes.
In America, we have freedom of religion. But I got to tell you, this organization is amping it up. They're amping up their lying. They're amping up their falsehood.
Sure
They're
are.
amping up their fear. Yeah, you imagine to-go bags and emergency sessions in the Kingdom Hall. Okay, run to the door and keeping the people in fear. Well, we know why they keep people in fear. Because when you're in fear, you can't critical think. So they've got
Right.
fear elevated at the highest level,
Yes, they
fear of your
do.
own children, your own baby at the
Yes.
highest level,
Oh, God.
fear something's going to happen any moment,
Oh, my God.
to keep these guys. They want to get this media center built, this Harvard, this, I know they call it a media center. I call it just another project they could sell once they build it with free labor.
Yeah, no kidding. But, just real quick again, one of the things that they have to say about it is that they use 1 John 2:19, apparently, that says that while those who cause divisions, and then also Romans 16, verse 17, or promote false doctrines, and also in Titus 3, verse 10, are to be watched and rejected if they do not repent after being warned. Okay, so, but it doesn't say, but it's Brenda Lee talking here, there is no command to stop communicating with ex-believers in here. So the idea was that back in that day, they had literal homes that they met in. They weren't churches back in that day when this was all written. They met in homes. And so if anybody came to your door and preaching a different gospel, you were not to let them in, because within that room was the gathering of believers, and they were not to allow them to come in to promote their false, idol worshiping other doctrines, and they were to not let them in. But they twisted it to mean that even if somebody leaves because they just don't want to be involved anymore, or they don't like the way that the practices of treating the women in those meetings that they have into the middle of the night, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of these stories, he don't like it, he thinks it's abusive, and then he's kicked out for that. Dan kicked out for saying, did we just pass the 1975 prophecy, brothers? And that was the beginning of the end. Apostate watch for Dan. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You simply leave, you drift away, they call it, by stop going, then you are shunned. And so it doesn't say that, but they do it anyway against the Bible. Like she said, there was no command to stop communicating with ex-believers because they don't want to go to church anymore, because they're disenfranchised, because they're offended by the way that they're being asked to treat these women in these meetings. A guy committed suicide because they kicked him out for this. This is just getting really bad, guys.
So we want to say, people, we wanted you to hear this. We wanted to explain it. It's high control. They're increasing the control, increasing the fear. Get this video out, pass it around, do what you will with it, repost it. We need to, because people need to know what's going on in there. And people need a fair opportunity to see what's going on, hear the truth from people who aren't afraid to speak the truth, and to maybe allow them an invitation to step away from these handlers. These are handlers.
Yes, they are.
These are slave handlers, and they're handling them very rough. I mean, they've got them tied mentally to the tree, right? The slavery, if you can remember slavery, they tied them in the tree, and then they open up the Bible and say, you aren't going out door to door with bloods, and just whipping them mentally, guilting them, and, making them to go out to repass out their literature. So please pass this video around. Let some people know. The more people that see it, here's what's cool about it. This video I am going to send to, we know a judge in town, we know a legislator in town, and we know a lady who writes laws for schools, right?
Right.
And we're going to communicate with them what's going on with these children being baptized, these young children making an oath, a dedication to something they don't even know what they're doing. You know, when they get older, you start thinking, your mind doesn't even really full developed at that age. They say even at 25, that's why insurance goes down, because your brains are finally fully developed. Before that, you know, you're kind of all over the place. You're in that youth age. So we know that when these children get old enough, that they're headed for a trap, right? Because they're going to want to date. They're going to want to maybe play
outside
football.
Of the church,
they're going to see the kids walking around at school with that big emblem on their shirt.
They're going to get drunk, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to do
point.
all kinds of things that they're going to do. Maybe smoke pot. You guys, these are all reasons why you get disfellowshipped in there. And so they're setting them up for failure. And then the parents are going to have to throw them to the dogs and not have anything more to do them and shun them, which they
have no idea. You have no idea at 8, 10 years old, 12 years old. You're just doing what makes daddy happy or mama happy or the elder happy. But you know, you're in school and you see the varsity jackets and the cheerleaders and you say, boy, that looks like fun. I like to wrestle. I want to do cross country. And you can't do any of that because that's using the world to the full.
Can't go to college either.
Yeah, that's using the world to the full.
Right.
So we need to get this message out there. We need to tell people, you don't have to put up with this stuff. Take a look at these men for what they are. Their infrastructure is crumbling. It really is. I don't know that I've seen anywhere on the internet where there's been so much light shining on an organization to reveal the truth about the falsehoods that they're spewing. There is light on this organization. I think God has just put the beam on it and put the big sun on it, and it's going to melt it to the ground because it's falsehood and it's slavery and it's abuse.
It absolutely is slavery. You guys can't believe some of the stories that we've heard about real live handlers, women who have been gang raped by a group of men in the church and drugged by like a woman before she even went home, and then to be purposely and planned to be raped again and again, not allowed to move out of her home, her city, her area without being hunted and she can't escape. And we've heard so many stories of these handlers. So you guys, this is really getting bad.
This is mind control, spiritual handling.
Yes.
It's different. It's different than the sexual handling. But it's mind control handling and fear and manipulation and coercion and lies, all to keep their kingdom alive. But like I said, truth will prevail. Truth will prevail over falsehood, and it will not continue. It will not continue.
Nope.
It's been spoken. It's been prayed about.
Amen.
Enough people have been in slavery long enough. Enough people have been preaching their lies. You know, it goes way back before 75. I just kind of got on board in 75 because that's when I graduated. You know, I was born into it, but I got on board really kind of getting active in it. And then, of course, the generation prophecies when I exited, and then they had the overlapping. But anyway, it's just, it'll never end. The fear will always be there. Every time there's a world event, there'll be a new thing to keep people in, to keep them safe. And like I said, not all of them are going to leave. A lot of them are going to just bury their head. They don't want responsibility. They don't want to think for themselves. And they're just going to stay in. And the Bible tells you what's going to happen with them. It says, get out of Babylon the Great, because you'll suffer with her in her destruction. So what happens to those people when their heads are buried and the organization decides, well, we're going to just pull the plug and let this thing fall to the ground? What happens to those people inside? Well, they're crumbled under the rubble because they wouldn't get out. They wouldn't flee. So we're giving people an opportunity to flee, to see the light, to reason on what's going on in there. You know, this is not healthy. This is not good.
You guys, what we need to have, though, is we need to have a housing for these people when they come out so that they can have a hand up and some support, some place that they can go get a job that they absolutely know that they could handle, like working in a nursery or something like that. This is a dire need for these buildings, which I would like to see us have so that people around the country can get started again for, you know, I don't know, a 6-month period or a year till they can get on their feet. And it's a dire need because people are afraid to leave because they have absolutely zero support, and they don't know that there's any support out there when they leave either. they're told that everyone outside of those doors are Satan, Babylon the
Yeah,
Great, and
nowhere to
it's
go.
Satan's world. And so anyone who's ever left, they're in Satan's world. You don't want to have anything to do with them. And but that's a kick you out offense anyway. You don't have anything to do with outsiders, especially not ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. So they don't feel that they could go there either. They have nowhere, and they're afraid of the world. So they're just failing badly, and most of them have to get on psych drugs,
Yeah, at least we can get on the
medication.
phone and talk to them.
Yes.
Tell them we love them. Tell them we're here for them. Ask them if they need anything.
There is actually support, but not so much the financial end of it or housing. None of that, which I feel is dire need, Dan.
Yeah.
We've got to all be praying about this. There's
Yeah,
dire
good
need
point.
for these people.
Yep.
They got to start again.
It's a really sad situation. Like you say, when you give your mind over to man, right, which is what you have to do in order to become a Jehovah's Witness, you know this, you have to say there are governors now, right? They're our governing body. They govern our spiritual food. They tell us what to eat, drink, think, sex, everything. Hospital politics. They're the governor,
Blood,
right?
everything.
They're the governor of our temple. And when we give over that, we lose the connection with ourself, with our true self, with our knower, with our inner GPS, right? We give that over to them. We're going to do a video on that.
Okay.
It's called Oz. You know,
Oz.
how did the witnesses get into Oz? How did they get into this disorientation with themselves? They don't even know themselves anymore. So like Angela said, when they come out, they don't know where to go. You don't trust the world. Everybody's satanic.
petrified.
Everybody's been satanic forever. Everybody's a demon. Everybody's trying to hurt you. And it's only after a little time where you start saying, well, boy, that person was sure nice to me.
Yeah.
Wow, that person gave me $100. Wow, that person gave me a car. Wow, that person let me live in their basement. There's angels everywhere,
yeah.
and you'll
Oh,
find
yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah.
When you decide to leave, God, Jehovah, whatever you want to call them, will make sure that you're taken care of.
You just have to trust
You just
God.
have to trust and say and pray to God, right? Say, hey, God, I need a little help here. I'm really disoriented.
Yeah.
And we are. When we come out, we're disoriented.
Oh, yeah.
You know, most
Oh,
people need, intense therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Mind control, cult therapy.
Oh, yeah.
To come out
I
from
did.
under this. I did
Yep.
too, And so anyway, that's all we wanted to say, guys. Thanks for
Okay.
listening. Share this video.
And pray.
Subscribe. And pray.
That we can get some help for these people, that
Yeah.
they can have real genuine support and a hand up.
Yeah, we're going to be reporting them to all these people that we told you. We're going to be turning on the light. We're going to be turning up the horn just like they're cranking up the horn. We're going to crank up the horn a little louder. We're going to crank up the light a little louder. And it is not going to hold up. But boy, I'd sure like to get a law passed with regard to these children,
shunning.
that they can't be baptized
right.
before they're 18. As
Yep.
long as witnesses have that structure in place that they can be abandoned. They call it shunning. I call it abandonment. As long as they can be abandoned, then they don't get that freedom. They don't. Those kids aren't under that authority or whatever. But that needs to be against the law in the Jehovah's Witnesses because it's
Absolutely.
destroying people, not because it's helping people, not because it's bringing people back to Jehovah. And they got this crazy idea that if you abandon your kid, he's going to come running back to Jehovah.
I know.
They don't realize you're destroying the kid by abandoning them. But anyway, we've said enough about it. But thank you guys for listening. Share this video far and wide, and I mean it, because these people need to hear this. And we are not letting up, and nobody's letting up. We took a little bit of sabbatical. Sometimes we take a week off or so, but we're raising it back up again. And guys, don't worry about me. It's the way I talk when I get excited. I'm hurting for my family. My family's still in there. My brother's still in there. I've seen my family get destroyed by these guys. So what you're seeing,